Hey everybody, how you doing? I'll see if people come in. This is an off the cuff um, live stream. Didn't plan this. I'll wait for a few more people to come in, see if anybody else comes in. I've had some interesting comments on my video that I uploaded this morning about what would lead to civil war and what it would be like. So we'll see if a few more people come to the live stream. I've heard from people that they're not getting notified of my videos or my live streams. So I would say to anybody to click that little bell at the side of the subscribe button and then choose notify all, and that'll notify you of everything that this channel does, whether it's a comment, whether it's a live stream or a video. Probably be best to do that because I think YouTube is restricting right-wing people again on what they've got to say. I've got two people watching, so I'm just going to go ahead. So there are a few people in the comments, and I always get this whenever I bring this subject up about civil war and stuff like that. I always seem to get the people in the comments saying that the British people, it's not in their makeup to go to civil war, to have a civil war, to do these sort of things. And I have to disagree because that's just an assumption. People, when you're in an environment when the whole structure of the establishment, the thing that is the structure of the country that keeps it running, when that starts to break down, things start to change within a society. And this is any society. You could have the most peaceful, benign society on the planet, and if the mechanisms for which that society relies on start to break down, then any society is open to civil war, any society. And for people coming to my video saying that, oh, the British people just don't have it in them, they do. Trust me, they do. Every single person on this planet, every single human being has the potential to commit untold violence against other human beings. It's within our genetic makeup. It really is. But we are a very, very violent species when we need to be. You look at the most benign mother with a child, but she will go to violence pretty quickly if her child is threatened. And that's the sort of mentality. Everything is peaceful, everything is okay, so long as the infrastructure that keeps our society stable is there. You remove that stability and it's all bets are off. And I think that's what a lot of people just don't understand about civil war. Everything changes. People just don't have it in them. You take away law enforcement and you now have to rely on yourself to defend your property and your family. You will soon find yourself, you can be quick to violence, especially when it means defending your family and your property and your extended family if needs be. People are quite capable of doing that. When I was out in Iraq, the first time I took a life, I didn't think I was capable of doing it. But when you're in a situation and you have people who are actively trying to take your life, you suddenly find the courage and think it's them or me. And that is in every human being. It's that basic survival instinct that if you put them in that situation, they will choose life over somebody else's life. That's what people have to understand. I don't buy any of this rubbish that it's not in the English people's makeup to go to civil war. They did it once before. And I'm sure there were people back then that were saying, back when we had the last civil war in this country, were saying, oh, the English people, they don't have it in them to do this. They'll never go to civil war. They'll never challenge the authorities. Lots of people say that. And that is a build-up to civil war within itself because people underestimate the mood of the country. They underestimate the mood of the people. Do you seriously think that the people in Westminster are political class? I'm talking about reforming this as well, the Reform Party. Do you really think those people understand the everyday average person on the street in the UK? They don't. There is a massive divide between us and them. There is. The political class are way, 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 a far way from even if they started out as working class when they were younger, and they moved up the class system to be in a position that the circumstances of this country have changed from when they were working class. You know, the country isn't the same country when I was young, so it's definitely not the same country now. What do you guys think? I know there's 9 people watching at the minute. What do you guys think about this situation? Do you think the British people have it in them to go to civil war? I personally, I think any society in any country is capable of it, given the right circumstances. If you remove the infrastructure, if you tell them, yeah, or if you tell them that, yeah, your infrastructure is collapsing, you no longer have power, water, heating, you no longer have the ability to go to the supermarket and get food, what do you think will happen to those people? Do you think they'll be civilized, or do you think they'll revert back to earlier forms of civilization where it was for everyone for themselves? That's every society is a finger click away from reverting back to uncivilized times. See, I see this argument a lot as well, Alex. And I do agree with you. I do agree with you. You know, because of football and Netflix, a lot of it is just bread and circuses. And this is the mechanism that the state, the government uses to keep society under control. At one time, it was religion. Society was kept under control using religion. Christianity in this country was used to keep the peasants in line, used to, you know, they were kept in line, that they were told, oh, it's ungodly to challenge the state and all this kind of stuff. That's how it was done back in the old times. Now it's evolved to be the TV, that little box in your corner, that little brainwashing machine is, I mean, does anybody see the post? I can't remember his name. There's a guy from GB News, and he basically made the connection between apparently in 2020 the government was talking with several media companies about positive reinforcement of vaccines in our TV. You saw it in EastEnders when they had that whole scene where one actor was playing the part of an anti-vaxxer, and the other two were basically saying the government line about vaccines and ridiculing this person for challenging the vaccine. That was all government funded. That was all pushed by the government. But yeah, I get what you mean, Alex. I really do. See, this is what I mean. This is what I mean with the public, right? This is how it starts. My city where I live is becoming unrecognizable. That's how it starts. You start to see that the place where you used to live is no longer the place that you remember. It's more dangerous. It's less inviting towards you. It's less tolerant of you. And yet you've been there your whole life. And yet you see these people bringing in newcomers to this country. I've got to put it that way for certain reasons. Newcomers to this country into your neighborhood that refuse to integrate, that bring their own culture with them, and they slowly take over and force out everybody that lived in that area. We've seen it happen. We've seen it happen in Bradford. We've seen it happen in Birmingham. Areas of our country are slowly being colonized, and that is only picking up pace. And this is what people were talking about. This is what Dominic Cummings was talking about when he was talking about demographic change leading to civil war, because the indigenous population feels threatened. They feel threatened. They feel that they're being ignored. We are being ignored in this country by the government. The government doesn't do anything, and we see the government actively protecting the people that are doing the atrocities against the indigenous people. More and more people just don't see it. Right, so I'm going to cover this again, right? I've just covered this, but I'm going to cover it again, right? More worried about football than our country. I do agree with that, but eventually that's going to fade away, because people are just going to be unable to ignore what's happening in this country. The minute it will start off in one place and it will just spread like wildfire, and nobody will be able to ignore it. No amount of football, no amount of TV, people won't be able to ignore the fighting going on outside their front window when it starts to happen, when it kicks off. It's a valid argument. People are asleep. Some people are asleep. They'll go to football matches. They will fight over rival teams, but they won't do anything about what's happening in their country because it is a distraction. Many of them are distraction, but lots and lots of people are now waking up to the fact of what's going on in this country. That's why you're seeing what's happening in Northern Ireland at the minute. People have had enough. They've had enough. Look at some other comments. Alex. So I'll get to that one in a minute. I contacted UKIP to offer my help stopping the votes, but haven't heard back except to join. Yeah. This is a process that has been happening for years. It didn't happen overnight. Exactly. This is a slow burn. I think this is what people mistakenly think. They think, oh, it's just happening now. No. This has been happening for over 50 years. We've been building to this point for over 50 years. I wish all the reform useful idiots would wake up and see the only true England for first party is UKIP. Yeah, exactly. I'll be honest with you, right? I don't want to say this. I've still got hope, but I think all these new parties are going to come way too late to save anything. I really do. I don't think we've got 4 years. I don't think we've got 4 years till the next election before things kick off. We really haven't. Football won't remain peaceful for too long. Clubs will have to up ticket prices with food costs soaring and other costs. Take away their downtime and the country will burn. Exactly. It's the only thing that's keeping this country in the way it is. People have an outlet for their anger. They go to football matches. They shout. They shout at the rival crowd, and that's how they get rid of some of their anger. But eventually, that won't be enough. It won't be enough. 90 minutes on a weekend, on a Saturday, won't be enough of a distraction from what's actually happening in this country. It won't. We need more seminars teaching people the common law and our constitution. That won't happen. That won't happen in this current environment that we're in. They actively want to stop that because if more people knew their rights, if more people knew about the constitution, then more people will want to defend it. And that's not on the agenda of these people who are in charge at the minute. You've got to think who's running the country. It's Marxist communists that are running the country at the minute. And that's the stone cold reality of the situation. We literally have communists in government at the minute running the country. That's the stark reality of everything. They're not the social democratic Labour Party that it used to be. These are full-on hardcore communists that are in government at the minute. Hence the complete crackdown on free speech. Hence the attack on farmers. That they see farmers as a threat to the state because farmers are self-sufficient and don't need the state. They can grow their own food. They can be totally isolated from the state and, you know, be all right on their own. That's why communists always go after the farmers, because they see them as self-sufficient. They see them as a threat to the state. That's what happens. We have full-on communists in government at the minute. And look at our police force. And I'm not talking recently. You can look back at the whole COVID area. Look how quickly they became authoritarian during COVID. How they were arresting, you know, grandma and granddad sat on a park bench. We saw it happen. We saw it on the news. We saw them going out and arresting elderly couples were sitting on a park bench out in the countryside. In my area, we had Derbyshire Constabulary using their drones to go out into the Peak District and spy on hikers who were on their own in the middle of the Peak District, and saying they were some sort of threat to the public. This was our police force. Look at the crackdowns on protesting in London, how they were going with their snatch squads and snatch people out of the crowd, beat them with batons and drag them off, arrest them. That was under Boris Johnson, by the way. That was under a so-called Conservative government as well. How do you think Starmer would have handled that situation? More importantly, how do you think Nigel Farage would have handled that situation? The man who wanted Tony Blair to be in charge of the vaccine rollout. I'm going to cover this slightly in this because I was thinking about doing a video about this. This is about civil war, but I want to cover this. Basically, if you look at Nigel Farage now, he's a Blairite. Look at how he's clamped down on anybody within the Reform Party who's against devolution. He says it's a done thing, it's a done deal, we've just got to accept it. And, you know, if anybody in the party questions it, they're not welcome. He's going to kick them out. He's a full-on Blairite. He's no better than David Cameron. And this is the man that people expect to save the country. It's not going to happen. And when people realise that, that's another step forward to civil war, because people put all their hope into the Reform Party. And when that hope collapses in these people, where else are they going to turn? They're going to lose total faith in the political system and one step closer to civil war. This is a good point. I totally agree. A vote doesn't change anything. Talking doesn't change anything. They're making laws to quell any dissent, wherever it comes from, or in what form. This needs a full nation to vote message, so they cannot put, whatever that means. But yeah, I totally agree with that. People, why do you think the turnout at the last general election was so low? Yeah, Tories didn't vote out of disgust at what the Conservative Party had become, but people are starting to realise no matter who they vote for, nothing ever changes in this country. It doesn't. No matter who you vote for, you can vote for the Conservative Party, everything stays the same. You vote for the Labour Party, everything stays the same. You'll vote for the Reform Party, nothing will change. Everything will stay the same. It's true what they say. If the vote actually did anything, they wouldn't allow you to do it. And I keep seeing this as well. Right. People keep putting petitions up on X, government petitions, saying, sign this petition. They don't do anything. Petitions don't do anything. They don't. Yeah, the only thing a petition will do is stir up public interest in a subject. It won't make the government change anything. There's no direct change. So you're back to square one. Yeah, the population will talk about it, but nothing will change. Nothing. Look at the petition that was put up. I think it's got well over. Is it on 6 million views now? 6 million signatures now. The petition calling for another general election. Government just dismissed it. Didn't even debate it. That mechanism is to give you the illusion that you have some sort of control over government. The reality is you don't, because those people in Parliament, those 650 people in Parliament, don't control anything. They don't control anything at all. The real people in charge of this country are the NGOs and the civil service, the people who are unelectable, the people who, behind the shadows, pull all the strings. It's an illusion. Parliament is an illusion. Parliament hasn't had any real power since we joined the EEC. Way back in, was it 1975, 1974? The minute we joined that, all of our sovereignty was gone. 40 years under the EU rule, and our government got complacent. It had no real power. It was told what to do by Brussels. It accepted it, and they just went into Parliament. They got their taxpayer salaries, sat back and just let the EU have the reins. That's why there was so much resentment when we voted to leave the EU. That's why none of them wanted to leave the European Union. They wanted to stay on the gravy train, giving the illusion that they were doing something, giving the people the illusion that they were actually electing people to look out for their interests, when in reality it was all total bullshit. The whole thing is just a total facade. It is. If people realise this and people woke up to the fact that, yeah, the system is not looking out for you, it's actually doing the opposite. Nothing ever changes. Tommy's rally is a waste of time and resources. We need to focus on city and town-based strikes. It just feels like Tommy is chasing attention like Nigel Farage. I think Tommy's got good intentions, but I think his tactics are flawed. I'm already seeing, in fact, I'll try and get it up. I'll show you this, right? This is just from my local area, right? This is what Stand Up to Racism are planning. And this is why I keep saying to people that having one protest, one rally isn't a good idea, because it allows the far left to focus all their effort on one location. If you have multiple protests all around the country, you divide them up. You make them numbers count for nothing. It's like that film 300. It's like the 300 Spartans, when they go to the hot gates, and, Xerxes has got, millions of troops, but those numbers count for nothing when you're forced into a narrow passage and, you've got people there defending it. It's like you're splitting up the numbers, you make the numbers count for nothing, and they look feeble, pathetic. Look at the guy that organised the Great British Strike, right? What did he do? He had protests up and down the country in every town and city, and the turnout from the far left was pathetic because they couldn't focus their resources on one location. It's all about tactics. I understand why Tommy Robinson's doing it. It's a free speech rally. He wants people to get down to London. Not everybody wants to go to London. I don't want to go to London. I don't want to go to London. I'm sorry, I support Tommy Robinson in everything he does, but I won't be going to that free speech rally in London. I won't. I'll be looking out to see if Nick Tenconi is doing any protests. I'm definitely going to the one in Nottingham on the 21st of June. If you want to see me there, you get down to Nottingham, go give your support to Nick Tenconi. He's doing the right thing. Nick Tenconi is taking his protest on a tour around the country. He's rallying up support for his cause by going to every town and city and telling people that they're not alone, that they do have people that are going to fight for them. And that's what we need. That is what we need. Right, I'll try and get this up by Stand Up to Racism, because this is interesting. I want to prove a point. Because the minute Tommy announced that he was holding that free speech rally in London, the far left started to mobilise immediately. And they've got the backing to do it. They can bus people in from all over the country because they've got the funding of George Soros, the socialist worker, the trade unions. They all pump money into these organisations. They are well funded, really well funded. So I'll try and get it up, and I'll show you guys. I'm gonna have to screenshot it and then upload it. But I want to show you it, because this has been my argument all along, and this is why I've always been calling for organised, peaceful protests all around the country, because they did the right thing. Because what did they do? The protesters at the Great British Strike protest, they turned their backs on the far left, and the far left hated that. They hated that because that's a sign of disrespect to them, and that's what needs to happen. Just turn your backs on them. Don't engage with them. Don't debate on them. Just turn your backs on them. And they hate it because all they want is attention. and you're denying them that attention. You're like showing you were. That's any insult you could throw at them. Trust me, they hate that. Let's see if I can find this. I'll try and find it on here, I think. See what we can see. It should pop up. It was fairly recent. It was, as soon as Tommy announced that he was doing a free speech rally, they started mobilising straight away. So I'll look at groups here. A lot of chat going on. It's good. Let's see. Chat amongst yourselves a minute while I look for this on this site. Let's look for them. Right, I'm going to do a screenshot. I'll make it. There we go. When it uploads, that is. Right, let's try and get it uploaded. Do a screenshot of it. Takes forever when I've got things like this up. Right. It's an interesting read, put it that way. Go away, don't you? That's it. I do prefer doing the live streams to doing the videos because the videos take a lot of time to edit and put together. Whereas if I do a live stream, it's just straight and it's on. And I like talking to you guys about stuff as well. It's good. I like to get your feedback straight away. I'm sorry, and I try to answer all the comments. I used to be able to do that, but I get that many comments now, and some of them don't even show up on my channel. So if I haven't answered your comment, I apologize. But YouTube is on a deleting spree at the minute, or it's just hiding them from my channel and I can't see them. So I apologize for that if I haven't responded. I do respond to every comment. I give it a like and a heart. I do, but sometimes you just get multiple comments saying the same thing and I can't respond to all of them with the same comment. But I do read all the comments. I read every single one. Especially, it's especially worse when I do multiple videos in a day and I'm not sure where comments are coming from. I'm getting comments from all sides. Kind of getting used to all of that. Right, that's that done. Get rid of that. And I'll upload this and I'll show you this. It is nice to have a chat, isn't it? It's good. It's good to have a chat with the audience and talk to people. Yeah, I like doing it. Right, we'll upload this. Yeah, it is PawTube, Maria. Yeah. So this is This is what happens when Tom Robinson puts a tweet out saying he's organising a rally. They mobilise straight away. They're just waiting for it. They'll have people watching it. This is it, look. Stand up to racism, Chesterfield and North Derbyshire. Come along to our organised meeting, 7 p.m. or whatever. Mobilising to stop the far right. Guest speaker, Yasmin, Derby, whatever it is. Emboldened by Reform Electoral Breakthrough, various fascist groups. They don't even know what fascism is, do they? They've got no clue. Various fascist groups are stepping up to street mobilisations. What strategies are best to stop them? Our guest speaker, Yasmin, who organised and led the successful recent Derby demo against the far-right Great British Strike, will lead the discussion. Far-right Great British Strike. It wasn't far-right at all. These people are insane. They're nutters. They're just absolutely insane, these people. They really are. They think everybody's a fascist. If you're not them, you're a fascist. And they don't realise that's extremist by its very definition, because they believe in absolutes. You're either one of them or you're an enemy. That's what they believe in, which is extremist. That's an extremist position to have. If you're not like me, then you're the enemy. That's extremist. It's nice to offload, and as there is many out there, including my friends and family, are not awake. Yeah, exactly. A lot of them aren't awake. But yeah, this here, as you can see, March Against Fascism, Unite versus Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson's never been fascist. He's never been fascist in his life. It's a load of rubbish. Absolute garbage. I always tell YouTube thanks for the warning, but it does not apply to me as I'm not an employee and policies are for employees and they never have a comeback. Exactly. Oh yeah, on another note, right, I had a copyright claim from, what was it, Good Morning Britain, for a clip I used in my video the other day. It didn't affect my video. They just put a copyright claim on it. I think it was an automatic claim. So I've even though it's not affected my video in any way, I've challenged it, because I think you should always challenge these things. It was about a 12-second clip. And so I've challenged it on the grounds of fair use, because the minute you start letting them get away with just putting a copyright claim on fair use stuff, they'll start to put it on other things as well. So I always challenge that. I don't let them get away with it. It's like, no, you're not putting a copyright claim on, it's fair use. I mean, they do it themselves. I've seen Good Morning Britain use clips of YouTubers and then not credit them for it. And sometimes it's the entire video they will use. I've seen them use some of Charlie Beach's stuff in the past. I've seen them use some of the auditors' footage in the past, but they never get credited for it. They never credit them. To me, that's copyright. See what everybody's saying. Right, let's have a look. I'm now shadow banned on YouTube for commenting, for putting problems require well-made solutions. Okay, whatever. But yeah, regarding civil war and what people were saying in the comments to that video I uploaded today, that the British people just don't have the stomach for civil war. Once your families are threatened, and there are lots and lots of these undocumented people in communities, and the police do nothing, people will start to take things into their own hands, as you're seeing in Northern Ireland, as you're seeing in Southern Ireland itself. That will happen. People do have a stomach for that. If there's one thing that we will do in this country, we will protect our families, regardless of what people say about football, reality TV, or anything like that. If you directly threaten somebody's family, they will retaliate, because that's just natural instinct, isn't it? And that's what's happening in these Northern Irish towns. They don't see any other option. I mean, look, that police officer, was it police commissioner that came out and blamed the rioters, blamed the people of that community for looking after their own people, simply because the police is inaction. The way you stop this sort of thing is by the police taking action and actually stopping these people. But they refuse to do it. Look at the grooming gang situation in our country. These people, the police not only helped to cover up what happened, they were actively involved in it. So the way that you stop these sort of things from happening is to show the people that you're actually policing the community and that you're on their side and that you will protect them from these people. But that's not happening. That's not happening at all. What we're seeing is these people are allowed to attack whoever the hell they like, and then the police come out and arrest the people that are retaliating against being attacked. That's what's happening. And there you go. That's the path to civil war. That's the path to civil war. Good. Yeah, I think after Nigel Farage's comments the other day, I think it's going to go way down. I think next year they're going to be on, I would say they'll be on less than 200,000 subscribers, definitely, by next year. I think everybody agrees with that now. I don't think there's anybody that thinks the Reform Party is going to be a force of change. Anybody with an ounce of brain in them, just thinks the Reform Party is just irrelevant now. The mainstream, they've moved into Westminster, and they desperately want to be a part of that Westminster bubble. So they've moved to the left to accommodate that, and now they're completely pointless. There's no point in the Reform Party whatsoever. After Nigel Farage's comments, I keep saying Richard Bull, it's not Richard Bull, David Bull's comments about immigration and stuff like that. His past wokeness just doesn't fill me full of any type of, thinking, the Reform Party, they're going to be the ones that save this country. They're not. They're not at all. And I agree. I agree with this. Mainstream is done, because that's what a lot of people are basing their assumptions on. They're basing it on the mainstream country, the country as it used to be, the people as they used to be. Things have changed. Things have definitely changed in this country. There's definitely been a shift in attitude in this country to what it used to be. Before COVID, people were just, they were just happy-go-lucky, getting on with their lives. After COVID, people are more angry. People are very angry. They lost their livelihoods. They lost their homes. Things changed for the worst in this country, and they've not gotten any better, and they keep getting worse. I think the council tax is going to go up to record levels next year. Rachel Reeves is going to put up tax again. So pretty much in a bit, people are going to be squeezed for every single penny that they own. They are, because the government is running out of money. They're running out of money. They're going to be bankrupt before long, because they're just useless, absolutely useless. Again, these are all factors that lead into civil war. What do you think happens when the government goes bankrupt and there's no more money to pay for social services? There's no more money to pay for benefits. There's no more money to pay for vital infrastructure for the country. What do you think happens then? The people that come to my videos and say that the British people, the English people, don't have the stomach for civil war, are basing it on the fact that everything in the country is fine, the infrastructure is still intact, everybody can still get fresh, clean water from their taps, the electricity is still on, the gas is still on, and that sort of thing. But those times are coming to an end. They're coming to an end. Vital infrastructure will collapse. I saw a report the other day saying that by, was it 2030, that we'll be running out of drinking water in this country because our population has exploded. We simply don't have enough reservoirs in this country with fresh water to provide for the people of this country anymore. We're becoming a third world country. That's what people are basing it on. They're basing it on the baseline that everything's okay, that the British public, they won't kick off because everything's fine. It's not fine. It's not been fine for a long time in this country. Boris locked us up for 2 years. The country grind to a halt. It cost a fortune. You idiot, Boris. Yes, he's an idiot. He's a moron. They get the water from Greg's. Yeah. My point is that things are going to gradually get worse and worse. And the country is a powder keg and a boiling pot now. So how do you think people are going to react when it comes to winter, when the winter fuel payments, when the fuel bills go up yet again because of inflation, when food prices go up again because of inflation, and people are now in the middle of winter having to choose whether to eat or heat their homes? Because at one time that just used to be a problem for the elderly on their pensions. Now that's becoming a problem for just everyday average people working a 40-hour week on minimum wage, most of the working class. That's the choice they're going to start to have to make. What do you think is going to happen? I know people at the minute that are working 2 jobs. They're working 40 hours plus a week, doing a full-time job and a little part-time job on the side just to pay the bills now. So how do you think they're going to cope when they suddenly find that those 2 jobs no longer pay for it? They're still got to choose between heating their home or buying food, especially if they've got a family. If you've got a family, you know how much food costs and how much you have to spend on food every month, or if you do it weekly, every week, and how much your bills are, your cost, and all that kind of stuff. It's just going to crush people. People are already struggling. They're going to be crushed because there's incompetent government. You know, you've got people like June Slater and David Bull. This will never touch them because they've got the resources. They can live comfortably, and this will never, ever affect them. If it did, June Slater will be singing a completely different tune about the Reform Party. If she was down here with one of us with a migrant hotel stuck on the end of the street where her kids were being threatened on a daily basis by undocumented individuals, where they've got individuals in parks exposing themselves, doing lewd sexual acts outside primary schools, June Slater's attitude towards the Reform Party's policies on everything will change dramatically. And this is the divide I'm talking about. These people have no clue about how everyday average people live in this country. They don't. That's the problem with the political class. They don't understand what is going on in our towns and cities because they don't live in our towns and cities. They don't live in our communities. So how can they govern over us when they have no clue what is going on? They don't understand. They just don't understand. And again, this is the path to civil war. We can see this divide between us. They're living a life of luxury while we're living down in the shit and just keep getting shit on. And now we're having other people being brought into the country that are getting everything for free while we having to scrimp and save every penny just to put food on the table. It's a similar situation to what we saw back with the first Civil War, when you had the peasants on the land and the feudal lords. It's a similar situation. Nothing really changed. The only thing that changed was the method in which we were controlled. Parliament instead of a king. That's all that changed. The feudal system still stayed in place, but instead of you directly giving your money to the landlord or the lord of the manor or whatever, now taxes are collected directly from your wages and given to the government. They're the new feudal lords. Now, everybody thinks that, oh, the government serves us. No, we serve the government. We serve the government. That's what's happened, and people don't realise it. We're taxed to the hilt. I've got no problem. I mean, this is another issue, right? Because I've seen people come to my live streams and say this as well. They say, oh, Vindicator's still part of the Matrix. He still buys into the system of, he still believes, taxation is slavery. And that they're right, it is. But what other method do they use? These people still go by the same system. They're still in the Matrix themselves, right? So they still follow the system because they still have to have money in order to live. And money is the way in which they enslave everybody. Those little paper vouchers that they hand out to people, that's the way they enslave the population. You can't live unless you've got these things that we give value to. You can't live without that. So they're still in the Matrix themselves. And they'll come to my live streams and say that the system that we're under is an enslavement, and you're ridiculous, you're asleep, you're not doing. But what are they doing about it? Are they going out and rejecting this system and forming their own communities, their own way of life off the grid? No, they're still on the internet bitching and complaining that other people aren't waking up without offering a solution themselves to it. There is a need for some sort of monetary taxation locally. Not the way, we don't need big government. It needs to be cut back. It needs to be completely slashed. The government is way too big, and it infringes way too far into people's lives. We need some kind of monetary exchange in which we pay for vital infrastructure, such as hospitals, doctors, a police force that actually polices the community. But I would say that there should be caveats in that taxation, that without, it's like, say, if the police stop doing their job, then we have a right to withdraw our tax and say, right, until you fix things, I'm not paying any tax. And it should be the same for local government. There should be a legal framework in there that, yeah, we enter into a contract with them and we say, right, we agree to part with some of our money if you provide certain vital infrastructure for us. If you stop providing that vital infrastructure, then I'm legally withholding that funds until you go back to providing that vital infrastructure. That's what needs to happen. We need to bring power back to the people, that they have a choice of whether they fund this or not. That's how I would solve it. Because no matter how you look at it, when you look at our complex society, we can't go back to a trade and barter system. We can't just like grow vegetables on our land and give so many vegetables to the local police officer to keep in police and local community. It's not going to work like that. We do need some kind of monetary way of ensuring that our infrastructure is in place. But we should have a legal right to withdraw that if things like, say, right, we're stopping giving local people social housing. We're going to start housing all these illegal immigrants. Immediately withdraw your council tax, and there would be a legal framework for you to do that. Right, we don't agree with that, so we're withdrawing our tax because we don't agree with you housing people before our own people. That's giving power back to the people. That's giving you a choice over what these people can do, which is the way it should always have been. What are your guys' thoughts on that anyway? But that's the next thing. Vindicator, what we're describing is in the 1688/9 Bill of Rights. It's constitutional, yeah, but it's an unwritten constitution. And a lot of it has been repealed or replaced with modern legislation that makes it irrelevant. There was no protection for the Constitution. it should have been written. We need a written constitution like they have in America that gives us free speech in law. But we need this. We need this. A lot of people disagree with me on this, that we can't have a written constitution. Get rid of the monarchy. The monarchy is pointless now. That king in Buckingham Palace is a complete and utter traitor, as are the rest of his family. They're all traitors. We've got a pedo in Prince Andrew. Get rid of them. We don't need them. Why are we funding these people? The monarchy should have died with the Queen. And that's where I stand on that anyway. Yeah, but the thing is, it's all been repealed. It's all been repealed. It's been replaced with modern legislation. There's only the basics of common law that still exists. They can just choose to ignore it. Whereas in America, because it's a written constitution and it's held, it's held up in law, and that if they go against constitutional law, they're in trouble. Basically, we need it here in this country. Unfortunately, this isn't going to happen. We're not going to get a written constitution. We're not going to get a Bill of Rights. We're not going to get any of that, unfortunately, in the present system we're in. Because while we've got a civil service like what we've got, while we've got the treasonous, traitorous 649 MPs, I say traitorous 649 MPs because Rupert Lowe is the only one in there of any value, in my opinion, that's actually fighting for us. 649 absolute traitors in Parliament that don't represent any of us. They don't represent any of us. They represent their own interests and that of the people who lobby and pay for their questions in Parliament. Vindicate, I'm afraid you're wrong. It's all in law. It's inalienable. It can't be repealed. You can only add rights, not remove them under the common law system. Hence why we live in a constitutional monarch. So why is free speech gone? Do you have a Bill of Rights entitles us to free speech? That's gone. We have no free speech in this country. They've had to reintroduce a bill into Parliament to rewrite, what was it again? Steve will probably be able to tell me on this. It was a public order bill that basically allowed blasphemy laws in through the back door. A member of Parliament has had to put a bill in to repeal that and give us our free speech back on religion. Free speech in this country is gone. It's completely gone. You've got no free expression. You've got no rights, really. This is why they've deliberately made laws nebulous. It's so that it's just everywhere's a grey area. So even the people in the country don't know what's going to put them over the line. There's no direct line in the sand. Because one person can say it one day and they get arrested and they get a 3-year prison sentence, and then somebody the next day can say exactly the same thing, but they're from a different demographic or a different group of people, and they get it's lenient, but yeah, we'll let you off with that. Nobody knows exactly in law what they can and cannot say. Right, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Okay, I'll say you're right. No, you're missing the point of the charters. are still constitutional law, as you say. The British government and the opposition chose not to use it exactly. Whereas in America, they cannot choose and not to choose the constitutional law. That's the difference. That's what we need. They have to abide by the constitution of the country. That is what we need. That's what I'm trying to get at. The US cannot just ignore the constitution and choose to enact it and not enact it whenever they want. They have to do it. They can't breach a citizen in the US's constitutional rights. They can't do that. That's what we need in this country. You've just said it yourself. You said it here. They can choose whether or not to actually, do it or not. I think we're on the same page. I think, I'm going about it the wrong way. Yeah, it is. It's there, but it needs to be brought forward, and there needs to be amendments which state that the government cannot ignore constitutional law. If they do, then they face severe punishment for that. Exactly. But a lot of these things need to be reenacted, don't they? A lot of them need to be brought into law again. A lot of it is people just simply don't know their rights. Hence, the nationwide no vote is the only answer. If they have no one to put in, they have no control. You install the prison warden. Well, eventually, I think that's going to happen itself, because at what point do you say that a government has a mandate? Say in 10 or 20 years, the turnout for the general election drops to below 10% of the population. Is the system still viable? Only 10% of the population is going out to vote for the people that govern over them. Does that government still have a mandate to govern over those people? Or are the people sending a clear message to the people in charge saying, you no longer have consent to govern over us because we just simply choose not to vote? Could an argument be made that, what was it? Was it 30% turnout in the last general election? 30% of the population turned out for the last general election. And I think, what was it? The Labour Party, did they get 56% of the 30% turnout? They got something like 11 million. Was it 11 million votes altogether? It was less than I think it was less than the 2019 general election, where Jeremy Corbyn actually lost. They got less votes in that than Jeremy Corbyn when he lost the general election. That's how low of a mandate the Labour Party actually has to do anything. They don't have a mandate. Don't know your rights, you have no rights. People are deliberately kept in the dark about their rights. In a right, Donovan Wright Phillips, in a ideal world, but unfortunately we don't have an ideal world, because the Marxists are in charge of our education system and they dictate what is taught in our schools. In an ideal world, every single child would be taught what their rights are in school. They would be taught about our history, about the empire, about how this country went out there and made the world a better place. Yeah, it did. It did some bad things during the empire, but like I said in previous videos, the bad that it did was outweighed by the good that it did by 1,000-fold. And there were other empires out there that never get mentioned by the far left. The far left never mentioned the fact that the Muslims had the Ottoman Empire, which basically raped and pillaged its way across Europe. They never mentioned that one. It's always the British Empire. The British Empire was the evil, evil empire out of Star Wars. It wasn't. Yeah, that's on the cards for winter because Ed Miliband is an absolute lunatic. We apparently we came close to it in this summer to having blackouts because there wasn't enough power. He had to do emergency deals with countries abroad that have coal and oil powered power stations to give us our electricity. Otherwise, we'd have had blackouts. That's how much of a moron he is. Funnily enough, I do have a camping channel. I have a camping channel on YouTube. It's only got, was it 400 and something subscribers, but it's getting there. It's getting there. Go out and do wild camping, I do some stealth camping, that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm into camping. Do a lot of it. Is it when the pensioners start thieving from Greg's? I don't know what that's about. So look at this one. Civil war is inevitable. The UK more than the United States. I would say the United States is well on its way. And it's orchestrated. It's been orchestrated by the Mexican government, and you've got the far left, Antifa, joining in with it. It's coordinated attack. It's coordinated. You've got the Democrats over there actively supporting insurrection. It's crazy. That's why Donald Trump's had to get the Marines out on the street. And boy, are they getting it. They are. The protesters are getting some real hammer now. Real hammer. They think the police were tough on them. Wait till they see the US Marines when they go in with their riot shields. They will show absolutely no mercy. I was watching a video on X from, I think it was a Florida police commissioner, and he just laid out the law. He just said any insurrection, any blocking of highways, you will be arrested. You will go to jail. If you run away from police, you resist arrest, you will go to jail tired because we will chase you down and you will go to jail. He said if rioters chuck bricks, throw firebombs, point guns at police officers, your family will be notified of where to collect your remains from. You will be put in the ground, stone cold dead. And that was a stark warning. That was like, yeah, don't mess about. Which is what our police need to be here. This is what needs to be happening with the pro-Hamas hate marches. But that obviously we've got a far left hierarchy within the police force that is ideologically captured that just won't do it. They won't do it. We have the best counties to camp in Indicator. I fell in love with Scotland. Such moves up there. Yeah. Or Peak District is awesome as well. Love the Peak. Around here is really nice as well. In the countryside, it's really nice. I want to stand in the way of an old person taking low they have earned. I've heard money stolen from them. Yeah. Regarding Governor of California Gavin Newsom, Democrats are saying they want him as 2028 presidential nominee. No chance that's happening. These people calling for it are mad, epically, after Newcombe's behaviour as governor. Yeah, he let them die in fires, didn't he? So I don't think he's exactly mind just saying that. California is pretty much a far left stronghold, so they'll probably vote themselves. into more pain and hurt. The riots last year, bigger fights at 1980s footy matches, police agitators among the rioters. Yeah, the first one I saw in Southport, I was picking them out of the crowd. I could see who they were. When you've been in security and you've been in Iraq like I have, you can pick out the people who were there to start and kick things off. And they were police agitators. You can always spot them because they're always the ones dressed in black. They're always the ones masked up, so you can't see their identity. I believe there was like footage afterwards of the police of some of these agitators actually getting into a police van after the riots. So yeah, it was they wanted this. They wanted it to kick off. They're not police agitators entirely. Hope not hate. Send in thugs as well funded by Soros and the unions. Yeah, that's true as well. Anybody turns up at any protest that you're doing in completely black outfits, masked up, just tell them to leave. Tommy Robinson's got the right idea with that. He doesn't allow anybody masked up to enter his rallies or anything like that because he knows who they are. Anybody wearing a mask, anybody wearing a baseball cap, sunglasses, anything like that, that's, you know, trying to cover their face or trying to hide their face, and they're standing at the front and then they start to cause trouble, keep an eye on them. Anybody like that, keep an eye on them because they're up to no good. Definitely, 100%. Whatever you do, guys, don't put any anti-Semitism in the chat because that will get my live stream banned. I've just had to remove one person for doing it. I believe in free speech, but I have to protect my channel and that sort of thing. You know, when you do that in the chat, the consequences are on me as well as you saying it. So obviously, for obvious reasons, I'm going to have to do it, and it would be the same with anybody else putting any type of racism or anything like that in the chat. I have to act on it immediately and get rid of it. Otherwise, my channel will go, and I can't afford to do that. Work too hard on it. Vindicator, what area are you in? I'm in East. Nice. I can't say exactly where I am for obvious reasons, but I'm in Derbyshire. I'm in the Peak District. That's all I'm going to say. Big picture, the UK is not immune to its various world events. Gaza, Ukraine, massive change is underway. People are now awake. Yes, they are. And many more are waking up. Many more are waking up. Right, I've gone over the hour mark. I normally just have these things for an hour. This was an off-the-cuff live stream. Hope you all enjoyed it. I'm going to end the live stream here. And thanks for all coming. Really appreciate it. Eventually, these live streams are going to get better. I'm going to get a better laptop and we'll be able to have people in and have discussions. I'll be able to play videos and that sort of thing. But we're on a shoestring budget at the minute where, you know, with everything at the minute. But things will get better, guys. I will have people in eventually. And yeah, it'll be great. But yeah, awesome. Hang on, I'll look up. That is cool. I went to Edale as a kid. Lovely pal. Yeah, it is. It's awesome there. Kinder Scouts, amazing. Go up on Kinder Scout. To be honest with you, if you go up on Kinder Scout, some of it is like being in Scotland when you're up there. The views and everything like that. Especially if you go to Kinder Downfall, the waterfall and all that kind of stuff. It's amazing. Especially in winter. I've actually camped up on there in winter, dead of winter. And yeah, very interesting times, but yeah. Right, so I'm going to say thanks to everybody. I'm going to put a few more comments up. Nice chatting to you all. Have a lovely day. Thank you, Maria. Brilliant. Thanks for that. Nice chat, mate. Brilliant. Yeah. See, we can have different reviews, but I think we're on the same page, Richard. I think I'm not that well clued up on the Constitution itself. It's something I've got to read up on. So you're more or less probably right in all of that. But the thing that I was trying to say is that our government just ignores it. They just ignore the Constitution of this country, where it needs to be brought forward into the limelight and say, you can't do this because our Constitution states you can't do it. There needs to be more challenge on it, and I agree with you completely on that, definitely. Section 5 Bill of Rights says to carry firearms if you are a Protestant. Yeah, but it's like a lot of that was not repealed but overruled by later legislation like the Firearms Act and all that kind of stuff. And what's the other one? The use of a deadly weapon. What would classify as a deadly weapon is any weapon that's modified or can be used to harm another individual. And I know that's not the letter of the law. I'm just paraphrasing there, but it's like Richard was saying, it's still there. It's just been ignored, or it's been overruled by acts of parliament that basically contradict it or overrule it. Like I've just said, the Firearms Act and all that kind of stuff. The right to bear arms has been removed by doing that. But yeah, Rupert Lowe's got the right idea with the Great Repeal Act that will roll back. Was it all the laws that were put into place by Tony Blair right back till 1997 will roll back everything. So it will get rid of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court needs to go. It will roll back everything that he did. And that needs to be put into place. And then we need to talk about devolution. Devolution needs to go. But that's for another video. That's for another live stream. I'm going to get into that. I'm not getting into that today. But yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. And thanks for coming along. This is Vindicator signing off.